Welcome to the Love and Sex Today show with Dr. Doug Weiss. Doug has been healing hearts and relationships for decades. He's helped thousands of people release the shame and the guilt, restoring hope, helping people get free from addictions to enjoy a better sex and love life. Here he is, your host, Dr. Doug Weiss.
Welcome to Love and Sex Today. I am Dr. Doug Weiss, and I will be your host. This is our 18th conversation, and this topic is going to be hot. This is going to be one of the best ones. I can tell because we've done this topic on YouTube, and it has exploded. Why my wife doesn't want to have sex. I'm going to give you several reasons. We're going to buzz through this so quickly. You're going to want a pen and paper. There are legitimate reasons why your wife may not want to have sex. Some of these, you may not be aware of them. Some of them can be really helpful for you to understand and get some movement on those. And some of them, if you're the guy, you might actually be contributing to. So you want to definitely stay tuned for this, listen to the whole podcast. And if you know people who are struggling with this, share it, because this could be life-changing for them. Now, don't forget to go to loveandsextoday.com, subscribe there. Give us a review on iTunes. This is going to be one of those you're definitely going to want to review. It's going to be life-changing for you. And one of you will be selected for a private conversation with me. They say it's priceless, fun, and engaging, and we will be able to talk about some issue in your life and see if we can maybe encourage you in some way. Also get a free chapter on the webpage, loveandsextoday.com, and there's always something that can be helpful there. Now, today's topic, why my wife won't have sex with me. That's a deep one. There are millions of marriages struggling with sexless-ness, sexual confusion, sexual frustration, and aloneness. And there are many men who work hard and try to love their wife and try to be a decent person and try to be a good dad. And at night, they're rejected day after day, week after week, sometimes for years. And they have no clue what's going on. So I'm going to give you several tips here that may give you insight as to why my wife won't have sex. So let's start with this. Number one is intimacy anorexia. If you've never heard that term, I encourage you to Google it. Go to intimacyanorexia.com. I have a book on that. If you go to loveandsextoday.com, you can find that book and videos on this. This is life-changing. Intimacy anorexia is the active withholding of intimacy from your spouse, emotionally, spiritually, and sexually. And so let me give you those characteristics real quick. And there's a podcast on that called Married and Alone, Intimacy Anorexia. Listen to that. And the spouse stays, she would be too busy for you, but not too busy for others. She would blame you for why all things are wrong in the marriage. It's your fault all the time. She would withhold love from you, especially the way you like to be loved. If you like to be touched, you're not going to be touched. She's going to withhold spiritually from you, although she might be spiritual in her community. She will also withhold sex, either withhold sex totally where she's not having sex with you, or be disconnected during sex and make it feel like this is an awful thing that you're doing to her. Okay, that can be very painful for men. Withhold, let's see, busy, blame, withhold love, withhold praise from you, unwilling or unable to share her feelings with you, using anger or silence as a way to control you, having ongoing and ungrounded criticism of you. You know, you can't do anything right. You're not smart, even though you maybe run a multi-million-dollar company. And most women don't control around money, but there could be issues around money. But you'll feel like a roommate. And if you have 5 or more of those, your wife is an intimacy anorexic. You need to get on that right away, get information on that, because that doesn't get help usually without professional intervention. Now, I'd strongly encourage you, you might want to come do a 3 or 5 day intensive in our office with that, because this thing is serious. Intimacy anorexia is very tough to deal with. That may be one reason why she's not having sex. And if that's the case, that's a really hard thing. The next is depression. One of the symptoms of depression is a low sex drive. Let me give you some of the other symptoms. Difficulty concentrating, difficulty making decisions, thoughts of feelings of worthlessness, low energy most days, weight either up or down, sleep difficulties. And if you get several of those, you want to take her to a doctor and look at depression. That might be what's going on. Now, another reason why your wife may not want to have sex is also another legitimate reason, low testosterone. You know, some of the symptoms there, very similar to depression as far, but there's sometimes hair loss, there's low energy, there's a lack of focus, but there's a low sex drive too. So you can look up low testosterone for women, and you might find that's the case. Especially, she's moving in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. Like men, testosterone drops, and some women, they're unaware of that. And once they get that addressed by a physician and gets bioidentical hormones, her sex drive goes back up, and she feels good again. She's got energy. She's alive. And so that could be a cloud that she's dealing with. Another similar pair of symptom clusters is low thyroid. It's common with women to have a low thyroid. But one of those, again, very similar to depression, concentration issues, focus issues, energy issues. A low sex drive is one of those issues that a low thyroid could have. So again, you can Google that and find all kinds of information on that. We're not doing the show on low thyroid today, but that is a real deal for why your wife may not want to have sex, and that has nothing to do with you. So we talked about 4 things that have nothing to do with you. Intimacy, anorexia, okay, withholding intimacy from you. Depression has nothing to do with you. That's usually chemical, or if there's issues in her past, like sexual trauma or abuse that she needs to deal with, okay. And that could be another reason. So let's mention that one. Sexual trauma, unresolved sexual trauma could be number 5. And that is something you want to take her to counseling for and get that worked on, so that, someone 25 years ago is not controlling your sex life. And that's something that can definitely be an impact. But depression has nothing to do with you. Low testosterone has nothing to do with you. Low thyroid has nothing to do with you. And sexual trauma from the past has nothing to do with you. Now let's talk about a couple things that might have something to do with you, because these impact a very healthy sexual woman, and it can shut her down. If you're having a secret porn life, or if you have a secret sex addiction and you are disconnected during sex, your wife is having a negative sexual encounter most of the time. If she's only made love to 1 out of 100 times, but the rest of the time she's having sex and it feels like it's being done to her and it's all about you, you're not connecting to her emotionally, you're not looking into her eyes, you're not talking to her as a person, you're talking dirty talk, she's going to feel disconnected during sex. And that's going to be a turnoff for most women. And so what you're doing is you're negatively reinforcing your wife around sexuality. So if you're that guy and you're going in there and it's all about you, and you're not connecting to her emotionally or spiritually, and you're not connecting to her emotionally and spiritually outside the bedroom, you're not asking her about her feelings, you're not caring about her day, you're not in her world, so to speak, then she's not going to really enjoy having sex with you. You're moving her to have duty sex because that's all you can provide is sex. If you're not mature in making love to your wife, then you may be part of the problem as to why your wife doesn't want to have sex. You want to talk to her about that. Another thing is if you're just generally immature, and what I mean by that is you don't help around the house. You're not engaged with the kids. You come home and you sit down and you watch television or football, or you're on your computer and you're just kind of avoiding her. Well, she doesn't want to have sex with someone who's avoiding her. She doesn't want to have sex with someone she wants to clean up after, pick up after, remind what to do. You can't keep your word. You say you're going to do something and you don't follow through. She doesn't, you being a child does not make her want sex with you. It turns her off. So when you come home, the first hour is her. Ask her what she needs you to do. Get it done. And start getting things done around the house that just need to be done. Be a man. Because if you stay a boy in a marriage, you will turn your wife off. She might have married you, go, okay, he's 20 years old, we're young, we're trying to figure it out, fine. But now if you're 40 and 50 and you're still not picking up your stuff, you're still not putting your toilet seat down, you're still not able to fix that socket, and if you can't fix things, then hire someone to fix things. But if you're that person who constantly needs to be nagged, that's not sexy. And that will turn your wife totally off. So you can evaluate that, because if you have a sex addiction, that's an issue. If you have where you're being sexually selfish and all you're able to provide is sex and not make love, you want to improve your skills. We talk about that in another podcast. Keep your eyes open. Talk to her during sex. Connect with her. Connect with her outside the bedroom. Ask her about what's going on. Ask her about her feelings. Women love to talk about their feelings. Talk about them. Okay. And if you're not good at that, I think we actually have a podcast on that already about emotions. If not, we will. Or get the book Emotional Fitness that can help you with that. And then also be mature in the environment. If the kids need something, be proactive. If you need to look at your house and deal with stuff around there, deal with it. Show her that you care about her environment, because for women, their house is a very sacred place. And so you want to be engaged in the environment, okay? Couch potatoes do not get a lot of sex because they are disrespected, and rightfully so. Rightfully so. So it may be that the reason your wife doesn't want to have sex is because of her side. Maybe she has intimacy anorexia. Okay, that's treatable. Okay, you want to get information on that, but it's definitely treatable. Depression is treatable, whether that is needing counseling or whether that is needing medication. Medication you would see a psychiatrist for. Okay, and there's also some naturopath stuff there. A low testosterone, that's going to be more a medical issue. You want to go to a doctor, get a hormone panel done, and see if that's an issue. A low thyroid, you can get a blood test for thyroid and see if the thyroid is in a reasonable place. And if it's not, that may be the only reason she doesn't want to have sex, is because she doesn't really have a sex drive because of her thyroid. And then look at the issues that are on your side of the table. If you have a porn and sex addiction, you're not mature enough to have great sex. So you're part of the problem there. You want to fix your side of that. Being disconnected during sex, if you're doing that, that can be a problem. If you're not connecting outside the bedroom, that's a problem, because women are aroused by emotional intimacy. I mean, that is a big aha for a lot of guys. I can't tell you how many tens of thousands of guys I've taught that, and the ones who believe me and do their feelings with their wife, and there's a intimacy, three tips, find that podcast, do that work. That can expedite her desire for sex because she's getting connected with you emotionally. But if you're just generally immature and you're unhelpful and you're unkind and you're thoughtless and selfish, you're never going to have great sex. You don't need to switch wives, because no wife is going to really be turned on by that level of immaturity. So you want to be kind of growing up in those areas that you need to take responsibility for. So this is going to be very helpful. I know we went through this speedily today. Okay, there's a lot here, and each one of these could be its own topic. And maybe in the future, if we get enough feedback from you, hey, I want to know more about that, Dr. Weiss, we'll do another show on that. Or maybe we'll have some of you guys on the show and say, ask the questions about this. And we will. There's a place on the website where you can ask questions. Please do, and we can maybe get those on the show as well. As always, I want you to go to loveandsextoday.com, subscribe there, review us on iTunes. That really helps people to get help. And one of you will be chosen for a private conversation with myself, and that'll be fun and engaging. If you need counseling help, we're always here to help you. 719-278-3708. Don't forget to get that free chapter on the webpage. That's a very helpful thing for most of you. And as always, we want you to have great love.
That's it for our episode of Love and Sex Today with Dr. Doug Weiss. Head on over to loveandsextoday.com and be sure to subscribe to the show on iTunes. When you do, and you post a review on iTunes, some lucky listener is going to win every single month a private confidential coaching call with Dr. Doug Weiss. Also, feel free to ask any question you like. You can push a button, speak your question, and Dr. Doug will answer your question in a future episode. So be sure to subscribe to the show. Doug's got some great gifts for you, and we will look forward to seeing you next time.